I've heard fellas say that they were terrified about coming into San Quentin. Actually, had some fellas say that even when they walked in, they were just scared to death.
Everybody's playing their own little game, trying to get out of this madhouse, I'd call it, actually.
They're family men, you know, they have wife and they have kids in a lot of cases, and they've come here for some such crime or something like that, you know. But for the most part, they're not unlike the average guy on the streets, you know, with the exception of being caught.
First week I was here, it was something like 3 or 4 killings. And the strangest thing about it is I've just heard about them. I haven't seen them, just heard about them. They did happen, because they happened so fast that they took the inmates that were either stabbed or wounded or killed, took them away so fast that before I knew what was happening, it was all over. Matter of fact, there was one incident that happened right in front of my cell. And I didn't know anything about it until I went to the chow hall. And we walk about, it's about a 3-4 minute walk by the time we get to the chow hall. And when I sat down, some fella came up to me and says, "Have you heard about that fella got hit with a 2x4? I says, "Where did it happen?" He says, "Right in front of your cell."
You move every time a bell rings, it means something. You can do too much time, I think. It makes you institutionalized where you can't think for yourself.
I can remember the times where, you know, if I saw somebody stabbed or if I saw somebody hurt or something like that where it would bother me, you know. And I'm getting to the point now to where it almost doesn't even concern me.
Laughter in here, man, is a gas. If you can laugh in here, then you can make it.
Johnny Cash represents a part of America that a lot of people want to look back to. It wasn't a chaotic thing, you know, in their mind, you know. It was Mom's apple pie, and it might have been beans, but everybody had a full belly, you know, things of this nature.
My uncle, who was in Korea and received a Purple Heart and a Silver Star, and he died in a heroic way, I guess. He saved his platoon. That's the only actual heroes I really have.
They're hiding us, you know. That society out there created a good many of us. I myself feel that the greatest crime a goodly portion of us in San Quentin are guilty of is one thing, that we were born poor.
Being a convict in California especially, you know, you're not even allowed to fight for your country.
We're exposed to a kind of a machine-like justice that just spews us out, you know, because our mediocrity, maybe, you know, we're of no consequence. What happens to us?
My wife comes up to visit. I see her once a week, you know, and you go out into the visiting room and there's your wife, but you know, you can't touch her. You know, that's illegal. You know, and you know, and shame on you if you put your hand on her leg or do something, you know, really out of line like that. You know, they really get upset. You know, and you sit there, you know, and you talk for about a half hour or something like that, and then for me, it's kind of I seem to kind of get in a state of limbo, you know, to where it's kind of like unreal.
The inmate comes in, many of them that comes in, I think, are afraid. This causes them to do one of two things. They either have to join a clique of some kind, a gang to survive. They have to pay protection to survive, or they have to do many things, even to the point of being homosexuals to survive. Many of them has to pay protection to survive. And I feel that this type of thing characterizes a lot of inmates. I think practically every inmate in the institution has his own way of survival. This causes him to not be able to act himself. I've seen cases where inmates, for instance, wrap their arms with toilet paper to make them look big and muscled up. I've seen them do many things to do this. Many times they will give staff a bad time in order to show some other group of inmates that I'm on your side or I'm a big tough guy and so forth. This is a means of survival.
Most of the people here are paranoid. In other words, they're all afraid something is going to happen to them in one sense or another.
Throughout the whole Department of Corrections, anybody that comes to the surface, so to speak, for some bad qualities, highly violent, he starts riots, he's a killer, anything like that, usually he's going to end up here.
We had a work strike, which later resulted in a retaliation thing between one group against another, and resulted in the majority of the inmates in the institution rebelling.
And when you come out of the mess hall that day, well, you walk right into the middle of a racial confrontation, and it was black on one side and Mexican and white on the other side, and you were just arbitrarily forced into, going to your own, but nothing else by scheme pigmentation. You had no choice.
I'm not a fascist, but I am a segregationist. I don't believe in integration, especially in prison. It creates a lot of tensions, especially with the younger generation of the black people who are taking the militant views. As far as I'm concerned, I have no part of integration.
I was raised like they were. I had nothing. I had to go out and steal what I wanted to get. Well, they want everything on a platter. You don't get nothing on a platter today.
Well, it isn't so much what's wrong with them. It's that I don't want to be bothered with their problems, and I don't want their whatever problems they have to be burdened on my shoulders. I feel they should find their own solution.
I started out in the department some 22 years ago working with youngsters. From 18, some of them even younger, 16 to 25 years old. We have a large number of the people here that is the same people that I was dealing with then. They had grown up and graduated through the institution and finally arrived at San Quentin.
Came out of the Marine Corps, I didn't have much money, and I seen people with money, so I knew about weapons. So I figured it'd be easy, So I just picked it up, started robbing.
This is a beef that's concerning a 14-year-old girl and two 16-year-old girls. We had our own argument going on, And the police came in.
I figured that money would cure all the problems I had and just take care of all my needs at the time. Of course, I realize now that this isn't true. Don't get me wrong, I still like money, but I know that's an improper way of attaining it.
I'm 32 years old now. I'm doing it ever since I've been doing it every day. I do it every day, 7 days a week. And, I boost in a day like a job, you know what I mean? And there's days where I don't steal, and I get the press, you know what I mean? And the next day I go on and I steal double, you know what I mean? And then I feel happy.
Well, I used to be a professional fighter and lost my temper at one time and hit somebody and hurt him pretty bad. So my beef is assault. That's my problem. Mine is mostly a problem of emotions. Got to the point where I couldn't control my emotions, and as I was told that I'm still capable of hurting someone, in spite of my age, I'm still in good condition and all these other factors, so they decided that they better send me away, hoping that I could learn enough to control my temper.
Well, I'm not proud of it, believe me. I regret it. I always have and I always will, but I was at a party and there was drink there, and I was one of the drinkers. This woman was one of the drinkers too, a friend of mine. She was a customer of mine at the station. And everybody else left. And we were there. Well, she had a 12-year-old son, and he'd already gone to bed. And during the evening, I'd made a pass at her, and she accepted the pass, so we were just about ready to culminate the scene on the couch, and her son walked in and caught us, and he says, "What are you doing to my mother?" Well, I blew it. I don't know why, but I did. I strangled both of them. All I can remember clearly is her starting to scream, "He's raping me, he's raping me."
called the police. God knows I don't know why I done it. And the judge told me I was to be taken to San Quentin and be executed as prescribed by law. Well, that's, you just look at the judge and that's it. But the realization hits you when you receive your slip of paper, your verification of your death sentence. And I looked at that slip of paper and said, on March the 10th, 10 a.m., you will be executed. That hits you, then you know those people weren't fooling.
Evening prior to the execution, the person who is supervising the execution takes the officers who will be sitting with the man during the night to condemned row, where the man is informed that it's time to go downstairs. We bring him out of the cell and place a set of leather cuffs on him, take him down a flight of an elevator of 5 floors, and put him in a holding cell where he will stay for the night. All arrangements that haven't already been made are made at that time. We find out naturally what he wants for his dinner that night, what kind of records, if any, that he wants to listen to, if he wants coffee, or if he wants tea or milk or whatever the case may be. Then, if he hasn't previously done so, we find out his religious preference, who he would like to spend some time with him during the night, if anyone, and notify these people.
Well, you're contained in a long corridor up there. Your cells are side by side. You have exercise period from 10:30 in the morning till 2 in the afternoon. You're fed twice a day, in the morning and then around 8 o'clock and then around 2:30. But you have, well, you can do a variety of things, mostly small things. Reading, writing. Some fellows drew, some fellows talked, other fellows thought. And you find out a lot about some people, some of your fellows, that your neighbors, what kind of life you've led. And of course, a lot of them put you on about the Cadillacs and all that, you know. I mean, actually, everybody up there, I think they're scared. But some of them don't want to admit it. They keep trying to reassure themselves that they're not scared. In this way, why they like to exaggerate a little. I've seen several fellows go downstairs to be executed the next morning. The custom is that the evening when they take you down, they come down and shake hands, you know. You stop at each cell and shake hands. What can you say to a man that's going down there to be executed? Good luck, or don't breathe too deep, or something like that, you know what I mean? And some are on the verge of cracking, but you can see them just steeling themselves so the tears won't come, won't show. And several of them have gone down with tears in their eyes and visibly shaken. They're all really scared. Of course, others I've seen going down smiling. A couple of fellows that tell me that one of them just practically run into the gas chamber. He wanted to get it over with.
I would say at first they're afraid. But I think after a few days they get in a routine and they live a comparatively easy, good life on condemned road during the time they're waiting. They fed exceptionally well. Of course, they do an awful lot of cell time. They get a couple, 2.5 hours or something like this exercise in the corridors during the day. And this is about all. The only time they get to come outside is when they're going to and from visits.
I was born and raised, brought up as a Catholic. I was an altar boy, and then when I got older, I sort of veered away from my church, but it brought me back to my church, not because of the crime. It's just that I figure I still think this way if I'd have probably stayed with my church. Went to church every Sunday, and I probably wouldn't have wound up where I did.
The executions are normally carried out at 10 a.m. on Fridays. Just prior to the execution, we go into the cell and dress him. He normally wears a pair of blue jeans, in a white shirt. At approximately 3 minutes after 10, while we'll get the direction of the warden, the man is placed in a chamber. His arms are strapped, his legs are strapped, and there's a strap around his chest. Then the chamber is sealed, and on the word from the warden, the gas is applied. Almost in all cases, the reaction is the same. From the time the man is placed in a chamber until he's pronounced dead is not longer than 14 to 15 minutes. He is, for all intent and purposes, dead long before that. That I have witnessed was very easy. I've heard many people describe this in many different ways, but to me, if you watch a man's hand that's strapped to a chair when he doesn't even clench his fist, which would be the first thing that you would know, that you would see if there was pain involved. And I've never even seen this happen. So I don't believe that there's any pain whatsoever connected with it. Most of them want to go in without any problems. They think it's important to die like a man.
Well, my mother came to see me in the morning, and it was a little difficult trying to more or less soothe her feelings, and she was more perturbed actually than what I was. I was scared. I always have been scared, but I felt, well, this is the way it's going to be, and I'm going to go. I didn't want to go, but you just can't do anything at that time. I was prepared. I talked to the rest of the fellows. But I was in a little bit of a daze, though. I was thinking about tomorrow morning, what was going to happen, the next morning, rather. I managed to survive that afternoon, and then I heard them coming up for me. The 4 officers that usually come up to take a man down and hold him in the holding cell next door to the gas chamber. And then the officer come down and he says, you better sit down. He says, I got some news for you. Well, I knew my attorney was trying to contact Justice Douglas. So they must have got in contact with him, because the officer told me I was granted a stay. Well, it was just like a big load coming off your shoulders. And I did get down, say a prayer. When I got down on my knees and said a prayer. Thanks.